Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Week 17 Raider preview. Chair with James here. Uh, Obviously, it's been a tough year for the Raiders. It's just ridiculous. It just got tougher, I think. Definitely, if you're a fan for however many years 40, 50, 60, whatever. However many years you've been a fan. With the passing of John Madden, it made the season a little more difficult. And, going back, seeing how his career went, being a player just for a short time with the Eagles, at least trying out and getting hurt, and becoming coaching on all level, and then end up being a coordinator there with the Raiders back in the late 60s, and then becoming the head coach at age 32. That's amazing to think in that time too, because it was considered a old man's game. I guess unless you were in the AFL, then everything was expandable. But in the NFL, NFC, was ran by people with experience and old guys. And John Madden came in and coached the Raiders, Oakland Raiders, for 10 seasons. Had a 759 winning percentage. He was 103, 32, and 7 ties. I guess a lot of ties back then when you think about it. Considering now there's hardly any. But won the Super Bowl back in 1977, 76 season. It was a total domination of that season and many of the seasons. There were so many years that they went to the championship game but could never get over the hump, whether it was the Steelers or the Dolphins. And there's vindication that 76 season that if they let I think it was the last week of the season or something like last week, if they were playing the Bengals, I think on a Monday night, and John Madden said that this game was the most proud he's been of his teams out of all the 10 years he coached. And if they let the Bengals beat them, the Bengals would be in the playoffs, I believe. But if the Raiders won, they would have to face Pittsburgh, the nemesis, the one that kept beating them every year almost in the playoffs. John said, we want Pittsburgh. And the whole fan base of Oakland wanted Pittsburgh. And they went on to rout the Bengals, I believe, that last game and faced the Steelers in the playoffs. And ended up defeating them and going on to defeat the Vikings. And that was the sort of guts that, John showed. He always was an offensive lineman at heart. What he played in college, the pros. And so he loved those guys. He had a burnout in a way in 1979. He didn't want to coach anymore and didn't. He promised. He said, this is my last year coaching. I will never coach again. And became a great television play-by-play analyst. And that's how I got to know him, when I grew up. I wasn't born, when he was doing the games on CBS, of course. Or I was, but I was so young I didn't know what was going on in the world. But he definitely brought the attention of the game to your living room and to your hearts and into your minds. It was amazing how he telestrated games. He was the king of the telestrator in football, and he called the games with such enthusiasm. He has something like me, where I don't like to fly, and he did, fly for so many years, and then he said, no, I'm done with that. He first took, Amtrak trains to get to games. And then he had a Madden Cruiser bus that I've seen in person twice down in Carlsbad, California, when the San Diego Chargers would have a Sunday night game. I saw, I believe his name was Willie, the bus driver, and I was amazed. It was at that time it was sponsored by Outback Steakhouse. He had a long advertising deal with them, and I just remember seeing that. I'm like, wow, you see that thing on TV every year, and he was a tremendous person. If you wanted to know football, not only was he a great analyst at that time, I would believe it was 1988-89. His first video game came out, Madden Football. And it's still thriving all these years. It's the #1 rated football game ever. One of the most profitable video games ever. And luckily this isn't the original one I had, but I found it luckily at a hand-me-down store, and I know this isn't a Raider, but this Madden 03, you see John there in the corner, this was definitely my favorite Madden to play of all time. He was on the call, of course, with Al Michaels. And I have some old ones too, older than this, and then the newer systems, had other games too. Always had a player on the cover. I think it was, the first one was Eddie George in 2001, and Madden was on the cover in 2000. At any rate, all these games that Madden came out with helped generations, and still to this day help learn the game of football and dominate it. And it's amazing to see players talk about the game and relive their childhood memories playing it. So it's really great. So I think I would imagine every game on Sunday and Monday, week 17, will have a moment of silence. And so rest in peace, John Madden. Now to the games. Week 16, the Raiders narrowly defeated the Denver Broncos despite 3 turnovers by the Raiders, 2 fumbles lost, and 1 interception. And that interception was a Bradley Chubb tipped return for a touchdown. The Raiders were down, 13-7 at the half. Let's see. Yeah, they only allowed 18 yards rushing, which was amazing to me. They really did the job on Denver with that. And Drew Lock only had, about 150 yards passing, Carr 200. Just enough. Let's just say that. Hunter Renfrow ended up with a touchdown catch. And the Raiders now 8-7. The Broncos 7-8. That makes the Raiders going into Week 17 ninth in the AFC. 1 game out of the wild card spot. The last wild card spot, 7, is Miami at 8-7. The Chargers and the Raiders both at 8-7 as well, and the Ravens there as well. So Chargers are playing the Broncos, and then the Titans are playing the Dolphins. So you really need the Broncos and Titans to win, and then the Raiders to take care of their business. That's really it. The Raiders 3rd place there in the AFC West, and still a chance. They face the Chargers next week, but they have to win this week. the Week 17 opponent, again, 10 a.m. on Fox, out here on the West Coast. Out there, of course, 1 o'clock in Indy, or Central Time. I can't remember where they are time-wise. But anyway, Indianapolis, 5th in the AFC, 2nd in the AFC South. They played lastly on Christmas. They defeated the Cardinals in Arizona 22-16. They almost dominated that game. They let Arizona in, but they held on. The Raiders lead this all-time matchup. Oakland, LA, Las Vegas, Indianapolis, Baltimore. 10-9. One playoff game, of course, was the Ghost of the Post with John Madden. Led Raiders back in 74, I believe it was. Dave Casper catching that long pass, setting up the winning field goal in that longest playoff game at the time. Definitely, they have to get the win from Madden, you would think. And then the injury report coming out. First, COVID-wise, the Colts may get back Carson Wentz. There's a new protocol in place, and Darius Leonard, their best linebacker, and Pascal are both back. So I didn't want to hear that because they were both out last week. For the Colts, so the task gets tougher with those two out. So the injury report I'm pulling up here. Derek Carr, of course, had the ribs injury. He played through it. He went full practice. Josh Jacobs did as well. The only questionable player that I have here is Jonathan Hankins, the defensive tackle with a back injury. He was limited all week long in practice, and he's questionable. For the Indianapolis Colts, I almost said Baltimore, the tight end Jack Doyle had an injury, but he's trying to play through it. He did not participate Thursday, but he participated Friday. He's questionable, along with Eric Fisher, the tackle, and the guard, Mark Glowinski. He's got an illness, and he's questionable. The Colt that is out is Andrew Sandejo. Remember, he was the former Viking safety. He's out with a concussion, so he could not clear that one bit. And that's a big loss for the Colts in their secondary, but they still have some young guys there in that secondary for sure. Let's see. The last time these two faced, of course, was last season, 2020, Week 14. The Colts, and I remember this, blew out the Raiders 44-27, 12-13. Jonathan Taylor ran for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been awesome pretty much all year long, and an MVP candidate in my opinion for the Colts. Last week against the Cardinal defense, he had 27 carries, 108 yards, no touchdowns. The Raiders also do have to look out for Michael Pittman Jr., who went to USC, T.Y. Hilton, and the tight end Ali Cox. Now, Ali Cox, he rarely gets targeted, but it's mostly seemingly for big plays. So you got to watch out for that if you're the Raiders. The Raiders do get a spark with Denzel Perryman back. He did look banged up last week, but he's able to play again. Fortunately, the loss of Jonathan Abram, you're going to feel in the secondary for sure. So quickly, a prediction on it. I know I say this every week, but it seriously comes down to field goals. It really does. I can imagine if that's the case, Raiders do win by a field goal, but it definitely won't be easy. But hopefully, with some guidance up above from John Madden, the Raiders can get the win. Daniel Carlson can be clutch again and kick a winning field goal to 26-24. That would be the hope for the game on Sunday the 2nd. January. So Happy New Year, everybody, and we will catch you next week. And hopefully it won't be the last Raider preview next week. Hopefully we'll have playoff talk to have after the Charger game next week. So take care, folks.